Good afternoon, everyone. It's so wonderful to see so many of you here. This is the second to last VanTech meeting before we break for the summer holidays. And it's a life science health tech theme. And it's so great to see so many of you so interested in this sector. We've got a real treat. We've got some experts talking today. And to kick things off, I'd like to introduce Lesley Esford, CEO of SFU VentureLabs. And here's Lesley.
Hello, everybody. This is a really difficult topic to talk about in 20 minutes. Why, artificial intelligence, the future of artificial intelligence and machine learning and life sciences, but I'm going to try to give the high level trends and what's kind of driving the growth in this space and where the opportunities are in this space. So next slide. So before I talk about that, I want to just look at investment trends that have been happening over the last few years. And so certainly we know on a global level that the rising inflation rates, interest rates increasing, obviously geopolitical risk, declining customer sentiment are all driving changes in investment. And I think there's also what we'll see is that there are peaks in investment in 2021 that were driven by other things as well. And I'm sure you can all guess. So if we look at the next slide, where obviously what you're seeing is for global life sciences and digital health trends, you saw a major increase in 2021. I think we can all understand that life sciences was the favorite at that point, but if you look at other sectors, you also saw a growth stage at this point where you saw major mega deals, high valuations, IPOs being set at that particular point. And then I think there was a correction. There were a lot of things that were where the valuations were off. And so when you look at it, although we think that there is no money in the marketplace, it's actually just gone back to pre-COVID times. And so next slide. Where again, if you look at the average deal size in 2021, you're looking at incredibly large deals. But if you look at the median deal size, it really hasn't changed. So it's just those mega deals that you're actually seeing, and as well as the opportunity to invest. So next slide. So the interesting element of where we are right now as the global deal side trends are shifting, the other shift is so in 2023, it goes to much earlier. So they're looking at early stage opportunities. And there's a lot of questions to why that is the case, and no one really knows. But if you think about life sciences in particular, I would say that there are many companies that during COVID struggled. And if you weren't doing things in COVID to directly, whether you're developing therapeutics or diagnostics or doing something in that space, you had tremendous trouble with supply chain issues. So I think that a lot of things slowed down. And so the question is whether there are enough really good opportunities that are past the early stage. So it's why this is the factor. It just happens that it is, and there is a shift. So now I wanted to go to the next slide and really talk about the opportunities in with artificial intelligence and machine learning in life sciences. And this was, and I'm going to break it down into two sides. I'm going to talk about, kind of the drug development device side, and then I'm going to talk about healthcare, the healthcare sector, because they're a little bit different in where the opportunities are, and also to the adoption of this technology. So this survey was done by Deloitte in 2020, and they were asking, how are you using artificial intelligence right now, machine learning, and how do you see yourself looking at it in the future? And this was among the survey respondents. You're talking about 44% successfully used AI to improve process efficiencies. 28% were using AI to enhance existing products, and 27% were using AI in the development of new products and services. And obviously, I would say that if you looked at this right now, there's some things that probably hold true, but there's also other opportunities that emerged. So next slide. So really, when we talk about drug development, it is expected to have a measurable impact on a few things. First, the drug development, clinical trials, which hasn't really evolved for a long period of time and was really pressured to evolve during COVID. Because all of a sudden it was very difficult to get clinical trials to move forward. You couldn't bring people into the hospital. You had to look at other ways to both recruit and actually also monitor those patients as well, because you didn't necessarily want a sick population coming to the hospital, nor did they want to be coming to the hospital. So clinical trials is an area. Supply chain, we all experience, you could go across sectors, that this is actually something that is an area, and the commercial and regulatory processes as well. It'll be quite interesting in that last one to also, this is where I would actually, I'm not about to talk about ChatGPT at this point, but that in particular is an area where those documents are incredibly difficult to write. However, having the ability to use a system that can expedite that would really take a lot of burden off this industry. Because when you're developing documents for clinical trial or when a product goes onto the market, there are a lot of compliance issues. So why are we looking at this? Is mainly to develop treatments faster, to have them more efficiently and into there, reducing the cost of healthcare, and well, also accessibility to patients is something that you want to have it. So if you can reduce the costs, also reduce the time to getting it through to commercialization, you can actually make it more accessible. And a lot of things that are driving this in drug development is, one, there's a patent cliff, so that many of the large pharma are facing the fact that they're going to lose a lot of revenue. There's also pressure from governments to reduce the cost of drugs. So again, their revenue potential is also struggling as well. And there is a rising cost of doing this, as well as it's becoming more and more difficult to get through clinical trials. So if I could go to the next slide. So when we look at the average cost to develop a drug, it's about 2 billion plus or minus a little bit. So next slide. If you specifically look at oncology drugs, it's even more expensive. The relevance to that is when pharma are actually experiencing a patent cliff, the first area that they go to is oncology, because the demand is obviously there and the revenue possibilities are there. But if you look at it, you're seeing increasing costs to develop an oncology drug. Next slide. Oh, there's a missing one. Oh, maybe, okay. The other, there, no. Okay, the other slide was actually that it's missing. Obviously, long time to develop a drug, anywhere from 10 to 15 years. So moving on to the next slide. So one of the areas, so just to give you an idea, I think as we talk about this, we're talking about a fairly new space within life sciences. So the first drug ever to come through that was actually, the target was identified using AI and successfully brought a product into the clinic, was a partnership between Sumitomo, and I'm not going to attempt to say the next part of the Japanese pharma, and an American company. And the interesting part, that was in January 2020, that partnership developed another product, another target, and that entered into the clinic in May 13th, 2021. That was actually their third drug by 2021. So within a year, they'd actually brought 3 drugs into the clinic. And they reduced the discovery phase, which would normally take 4.5 years, to 12 months. Not surprisingly, after showing, basically this is validating that their approach is working. Then they also, of course, got partnerships with multiple pharma companies with deals to develop more drugs using that approach. So definitely developing target, getting to using AI to do target, but recognizing that you have to validate that process and make sure that it actually is accurately getting to the clinic. Now, the other part that we don't know but will play out is getting a drug target to the clinic is kind of the beginning of a very long journey that you get first in man and continue to build that out. What will have to play out and what we'll find over time is not only that they're faster at getting good targets and getting through that initial analysis process, but they're better at doing it and that they're having less failures in the clinic. Because when you look at drug development, it's very expensive to get it to the clinic. It's more expensive once you've actually get a failure. And especially as you move on in the clinical trial path, it gets more and more expensive. So time will tell whether this is actually the right approach. So next part where we saw a lot in life sciences is protein design. And this is actually a local company. And just to actually show that in January of 2022, they were able to secure investment of 43.5 million. And the lead investor was the Bears Venture Group. By the way, that was their third deal that week. So that's just showing that time it was incredibly hot if you were actually doing this. And what they're doing is actually drug discovery in using AI to examine the protein drug interactions for the development of new therapies. One of the things that I'll say in the drug development space is the companies that are successful, that are using AI and machine learning, are doing it for purpose and are very specific within drug development of how they're playing. So, you know, here in this case, they're talking about protein drug interaction. In some cases, you could be using it for stability. You could be using it for different factors. But if you're using it more broadly and are not clear on how this approach is going to benefit both, again, overcoming some challenges as a space, but also ultimately benefiting the patient, you're going to have difficulty raising money. Next slide. So when you look at this as potential areas for R&D and drug development, there are definitely some areas that are the more purple areas that are actually transformative and are going to change the way that we've actually done science in the past. Others have great potential, but it's not all of drug development that is now, embracing this. And part of it is for a few limitations. It's based on your data set and the quality of the data that you have. So certainly and I've heard this on, in some companies that have pursued an area in this using machine learning, and they could get the answer to part of their question, like which drugs are more commonly used, but they didn't necessarily the data sets were not attached to the clinical outcomes. So if you don't actually have a really strong data set, that it becomes very difficult. The other challenge is also having the right people. And I think that that's where you're seeing a lot of acquisitions by pharma, because this is not an area where it's easier for them to actually buy a company than to build out that expertise. And you're seeing a lot of changes between people it is something that to be successful, you really have to have a multidisciplinary approach. So now I'm going to switch over to healthcare. So next slide. So drivers in healthcare, this shouldn't be surprising. This is actually US data. Healthcare represents a really big cost to us. Drivers of why we have to change health comes down to obviously an aged population, an alarming rise in chronic diseases, and technology advancement. This is all leading to the need to reducing healthcare costs and enhance patient services. What I will say is that COVID really had a huge impact on the healthcare system. We obviously saw it had tremendous burdens to the healthcare system. But what you also, when this first started, I actually talked to a friend of mine who is heads Blue Cross, their actual venture arm. And he said, for many, many years, they actually tried to get virtual health in many of the states. They knew it was actually going to reduce the costs. There wasn't a need to always have patients in place. They couldn't do anything. Overnight, all of a sudden, these companies that were in their portfolio were incredibly busy because as we saw, healthcare, now we went to virtual health. That was one of the areas where BC had a bit of an advantage because we already had the cost codes in place to allow for virtual health to happen. So the transformation wasn't as great, but there were many organizations that were set in place to actually promote innovation and promote the use of technology in healthcare that had struggled with barriers that were basically eliminated overnight. And so you saw this massive transformation that actually happened. And the hope is those barriers don't go back up over time, because really you're looking at a very different way to deliver healthcare. Next slide. So the impacts of using this technology in healthcare include data management, scheduling, and other aspects to improve the patient experience. One of the things that has happened prior to COVID and even more important as COVID hit is the patients had a stronger voice. They were insisting on better care. They were insisting on taking control of their care, which opened up opportunities that weren't necessarily there before. And so applying this, precision medicine became a big area. And I think ViewsML is going to be presenting a little bit later. There you go. And yet they definitely fall into that category. Diagnosing conditions and issues in a way that, early on, I think, I remember I was, talking to a company that was doing remote monitoring, and they actually said that through their data, they took one person's patient's records over time. And in that one patient record, they actually found diseases that had never been diagnosed, that were clear from the data. That because when you look at what physicians do, and you think about it when you're in the doctor's office, you've got 10 minutes for them to actually look at the data that either you've presented or they've actually captured and make a decision on what's going on. And so this is where no AI is not going to replace a doctor, but it's going to augment their decision-making. It's going to improve their ability to make decisions, because they have to take in all of that complex data and be able to look at a pattern, really, and make a decision. And assisting with surgeries, I think this was ongoing prior to and is going to increase, an administrative task, because again, there's a lot of administrative tasks when you come into a hospital system. And I think Ginger Desk is presenting. So there we go, over there. Yeah, so you'd fall into this category. So next slide. So when we look at the opportunity in healthcare for artificial intelligence, machine learning, we're looking at in 2022, an industry that's worth about 15.1 billion. The prediction in 2023 to go up to 186.95 billion. And it's expected to grow at a rate of 37%. So this is really, prior to COVID, health, especially healthcare, was so far behind where fintech was. And the reason I use fintech as an example is because it's obviously heavily regulated. There's obviously concerns, and all I have to say is, what do you want released to the public? Your financial data and your health data. You don't want either of them released, right? So there are obviously privacy issues and things like that. So looking at that growth curve, there's definitely opportunities. Next slide. And when you look at, from CB Insights, where the life sciences investment areas are happening, it falls into that. If you look at the first one, care delivery and navigation tech. Now, one of the reasons that it's being driven by this is really the private healthcare system in the US that's driving this, creating efficiencies and reducing costs. And so, and the other factor is that when you look specifically at AI machine learning, it probably over 50% of the people doing this are in North America. So you're actually seeing this slightly skewed. Obviously, monitoring, imaging, and diagnostic tech. These are all areas where machine learning and AI have an application, that they have companies that have gone out and validated that there is a value to incorporating that technology. So, just in conclusion, this area is still very much at the very beginning of its journey. However, there are a lot of different applications that really show promise in looking at using these tools to be able to enhance the efficiency of getting products to market, decreasing healthcare costs. And, there basically is a ton of opportunities. So I'm really looking forward to the panel discussion and learning more about what the other people's perspective of this, because I find it's a very exciting area to explore.
Great. Thank you very much, Lesley. Lesley and I have known each other for quite some time, but she's got an accomplished background. She knows a lot about the industry. She's been in leadership positions with various organizations, including AcceleRx, which is now merged with Admari Bioinnovations, New Ventures BC, we all know them, and Coast Capital Venture Connection. So, well, she's been the past CEO of Life Sciences BC. We're really fortunate to have her head up the SFU VentureLabs. So thank you for all this information. This information will be posted on our website after this meeting. And now, let's move on to one of our most supportive partners, Nimbus Synergies. I'm going to introduce Jason Robertson. And Jason, perhaps you can introduce the rest of your crew.
Thanks very much, Zelzel. So I'll get the panelists just to come up. We don't have to have formalities here. So while they're coming up, just for those of you who don't know me, Jason Robertson, co-founder and partner at Nimbus Synergies. We are an early stage health technology investor focused primarily in BC and Canada. And it is my great privilege and pleasure to be moderating this panel on AI and healthcare. Please have a seat, get comfortable. So I guess I wanted to start, I'll try to sort of reach over. So I think Lesley did a fabulous job, I think, of setting a stage. I want to cover a couple of things just really briefly. As she alluded to at the end, why does health matter? Probably because it's one of the last significant verticals that has yet to be impacted significantly by innovation and technology. I think there's also the greatest need. I think we can all acknowledge that we strive for and we desire better care and better outcomes from our healthcare systems and lower costs. When we think about AI, I think there's certainly, again, Lesley did a great job laying out some of the theses for why AI is critical and I think a catalyst for some of the innovation that we expect to come from health in the future. One of the analogies that I really like, is this idea about thinking about, foundational or fundamental technology shifts and paradigm shifts, similar to the innovation of electricity. And I'm cribbing this and stealing this from Abby Goldfarb, one of the leading AI academics at the University of Toronto, who sort of equates it to thinking about the transformation that happened to the industrial world and factories around electricity. When electricity came in, we had steam engines that were driving factories, and you'd have one great big steam engine in the center of the factory floor, and the components that were required in the factory that had the greatest energy demands were situated next to that steam engine to drive them, and then some things kind of trailed off. And so when electrification came in and electric motors came in, obviously the first thing that we did is we replaced the steam engine with an electric engine. Or electric motor. But then over time, we fundamentally figured out that electrical motors could be smaller and they could do different things, and that we could reconfigure our factory floors to allow for greater automation and greater efficiency, leading to things like Henry Ford and the Model T and Ford, et cetera. And so I think we're at a really interesting time, and I think you're going to hear it from the panelists here, where there are things that we are doing to plug into existing solutions and using AI to do that. Alternatively, I think we need to think forward in 5 or 10 years where we're going to fundamentally reconfigure how healthcare is delivered through AI. So with that, I'm going to pause quickly and sort of say, look, when we were chatting as a panel about what to talk about, we ran for about 90 minutes. So we don't have enough time to cover all the things that we think we could do. So I think we're going to try to keep it, sorry? I think we're going to try to keep it really focused and provide a few minutes at the end to address what your pressing questions are. So I think with that, I'd love to turn it over and go through and have the panelists introduce themselves one by one. And I think you're going to find from Lesley's commentary that, sorry, that's what you need. Lesley's commentary that we have a really good, diverse group of innovators here showing how they're leveraging AI in their health applications. So without greater ado, I will turn it over to Kris to introduce himself.
Thank you, Jason. I'm the head of research and development and a co-founder of Clarius Mobile Health. We manufacture and develop these portable ultrasound devices. So our vision with AI and ML is to really enable every physician to be able to use ultrasound in their practice. And we think that that goal can be achieved through the use of more education tools and automation.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for having us. It's also great to see some familiar faces. I miss you a lot. I think I've been just very busy with the business, and it's great to be back here today. My name is Maryam. I'm CEO and co-founder of MetaOptima. We have a platform that uses AI for helping with all dermatology, basically conditions, skin, hair and nail conditions, and we focus on skin cancer. We have over 40 algorithms in our platform, and we have over 10 million images, over 2.8 million patients in the platform that we serve today. We started building and using AI when it wasn't hot and so popular. So it was my PhD, also my postdoc in medical imaging and AI from SFU and UBC. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jason Rolfe, co-founder and CTO of Variational.ai. We have a machine learning centric approach for developing new drugs, specifically hit identification and lead optimization of selective kinase inhibitors.
That was a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. So kudos to the panel for keeping it tight. So one of the things that again, bridging off of what Lesley said earlier, successful execution of ML and AI, I think really requires fundamentally data. And so often lots of data. That data is leveraged, of course, as Maryam was alluding to create and train algorithms and models. And so I think one of the questions that I have for the panel is to best understand what are the biggest challenges and misconceptions about utilizing data for health venture in your particular area.
So when we founded Clarius, one of the strategies that we employed right from the beginning was to develop a whole ecosystem, not just the device itself, so that practitioners had a place to put their data. There's a lot of solutions out there, but they could be costly or not easy to use. So 7 years ago when we launched the first product, most practitioners were using a cloud system to store data. So at this point, we have literally millions of images to work with. However, even though we have access to de-identified data, there's a huge gap in understanding the context and the labeling of what's actually being stored out there. What are we looking at? What measurements have been performed? So we can pull a little bit of that through some models that we're developing now, but there's definitely a lot of manpower that goes into just curating all those images and really focusing on what sort of problems do we want to solve as we continue to develop innovations and specific ML technologies for the markets that we're serving. So a lot of data does not mean that we're going to be able to easily deploy solutions to the market.
In our case, we focused on building the ecosystem and also making sure we have vertical integration of our solution in the ecosystem for several reasons. One of them basically being to protect the data and how we collect it, the quality of data, the structure that we have. For example, you get the data from patients, someone can argue they have 2 million images coming from patients. I can guarantee less than 1% is useful because there's no label attached, data is not clean. You will find images of like unrelated things in the database, but at the end, it counts as data. So I would focus on the quality of the data and also the ecosystem that you've built. We build the ecosystem so that doctors love our system. They use it every day. We connect to pathology labs. We have the patient outcome. We know what happened to the patient. For one of the hospitals, we were talking about some of the projects we had. We migrated 25 years of data and 15 years was actually useful because previous to that, the images even are not readable. They're like color images, but they were like black and white anyway. So then you look at the quality of the data and how you build a model that doctors are going to use the system, which means basically how you focus on the adoption of the solution. And now you have the evergreen database. It's basically coming every day. Your database is growing every day. And also you will really like look at the failures, edge cases, rare cases, and the biases. If you don't have the database and you've purchased only 1 million images from 2 centers, there will be so many things that won't work, and you just don't have the access to go and figure out how you can address those biases. This is an interesting topic. I would say a colorful, really area to look at all the challenges when it comes to data structure, quality, and data in ecosystem that's actually evergreen. So that was our, I believe, one of the main reasons for our success, because we implemented the solution. We had to be correct, 39 algorithms in the platform, not even one diagnostic, right? It means a lot of algorithms were used to help doctors with their everyday workflow, imaging, quality check, all of that. Now they can actually see the diagnostic algorithms. We have one in the FDA process for the approval to come to life. So I would focus on data and implementation of the solution in the ecosystem so that it empowers you for addressing all the biases and the implementation challenges that you will have in the product that you are building using AI.
So in the domain of hit identification and lead optimization for the development of new drugs, the critical sort of information that's relevant is the interaction between small molecule drugs and their protein targets. There's a large amount of this data that is available from either public or commercially available sources, which you can just pay a license and get access to a large database. But the data is extremely heterogeneous in terms of the way in which the data was collected, different assays being used to address the same basic target. Also very much in terms of the quality of the data, how clean the data is. Many of the largest sources of data from things like high throughput screening are extremely noisy. They're not designed for input to machine learning algorithms. They're designed for a successive triage process done by humans. So trying to use data that was generated for one sort of workflow, pulled into a completely different sort of workflow, the machine learning workflow, it's not a natural fit. And if it's done naively, it yields models that don't yield useful predictions. So definitely curating the data, cleaning the data, attempting to find diverse sources that build up a sufficiently large data set in order to build a sufficiently rich model is absolutely essential. The size of data sets that are considered large in the cheminformatics community are off by a couple orders of magnitude from what's considered large enough in the machine learning community. So it's really essential to be as careful as possible in assembling these data sets in order to have enough statistical structure on which to be able to make non-trivial predictions.
Awesome. So I'm going to build on that, and maybe I'll start back at the other end with you, Jason, in terms of sort of asking then, and I think this is a little bit different in your context versus the other two panelists, but what I'm hearing is, of course, lots of data matters, but it's not just magnitude, it's also quality, right? So how does that impact in terms of both quantity and quality affect any sort of engagement that your venture has with a regulatory body? What are the regulators thinking about this? What are their questions? Maryam, I think you brought up something that came up in our pre-discussion in terms of biases. So how is that a critical component to how do you think about building and leveraging those data sets for your AI?
So I'll answer your direct question, but then I think I'll sort of answer the implicit question that was buried in there. The direct answer to your question in terms of regulatory bodies for drug discovery, in the end, you're going to apply for FDA approval for the drug. And that is all based upon direct experimental testing of one single compound that has moved through the entire hit discovery, lead identification, lead optimization, preclinical testing, all the way through to those first in human trials. So at that point, the machine learning that may or may not have been used to nominate that drug candidate is all sort of swept under the carpet, and they can do a direct investigation of the exact drug candidate that you're trying to push forward. The point in which one needs to convince another body of the relevance of the machine learning data is when interacting specifically with medicinal chemists in those earlier stages of the drug development. Medicinal chemists tend to be a reasonably conservative bunch. They're coming from a background in which they are operating in a very data poor environment. the number of novel compounds that a medicinal chemist produces over the course of their career, maybe you're talking about a couple hundred per year, just because of the time and expense associated with the synthesis and testing of each individual compound. And you only really get information about a new compound when you explicitly synthesize it and test it, which takes thousands of dollars and weeks to months for each compound. Medicinal chemists will build up intuition over the course of their career. This intuition varies drastically between medicinal chemists. There have been studies done in which you get, 10 medicinal chemists and you ask them all for their opinion about the drug likeness of a particular compound or whether they think it's going to be able to inhibit a particular target. And you will get wildly different predictions from different medicinal chemists. And this is also obviously going to be reflected in the accuracy of those predictions of any single medicinal chemist. Trying to interact with these groups of people when you're coming in with a sort of a fundamentally qualitatively different approach, you need to gain their trust and acceptance. They're going to be the gateholders. They're going to decide which compounds are actually going to be synthesized. When you're only synthesizing tens of compounds each week, there is a human gatekeeper on each of those steps. What we have found to be mostly sufficient for convincing people is showing the accuracy of the algorithm, not so much on retrospective data, an existing data set, but on prospective data. The cheminformatics and medicinal chemistry community has become extremely skeptical or careful in their investigation of retrospective data because of the difficulty of constructing good train test splits. If you just randomly split your data, you end up having very similar compounds in the test set and the train set. And as a result, a nearest neighbor predictor does extremely well. You just predict the value of that very similar compound and you do better than a human would be able to do on new compounds. In a recent interaction with a customer, we had been working with them, training on all of the data up into a certain point. At some point, we froze our models and then gave them predictions on the compounds that came out over the next couple months. And those predictions were significantly better than any of their internal models. And that really drove that process forward and gave them the confidence to continue to interact with us and begin to nominate our compounds for synthesis and testing.
Maryam, regulatory?
First, I think when we are looking at the AI and regulations approvals as investors, if I had money to bet on this domain, I wouldn't just focus on approvals and regulatory basically process. I don't think it's a success really for any business just getting the approval. I would really focus on good examples of approved products with really good market traction, because it's really easy to get FDA approval if you just engineer your system to get 98% sensitivity and the specificity doesn't really matter. But when you go to the market, you implement the solution, your business will fail just because it's overdiagnosing just to be able to get approval. So from the investor perspective, I've seen a lot of, I've been part of some application reviews for some of the investors from our investors or other groups. When I see technologies, just looking at the engineering results of approvals, I would say that's maybe 20–30% of what you need to make sure you have. Now, from the implementation perspective, if you walk to the FDA meetings, they are bombarded with so many applications in this space. We've had really, really good meetings. I love working with our FDA team. We have some senior officers from the FDA working on the problem. And it's interesting, they come with so many questions that they don't have the answers for. And this is collected from all the presentations, all the companies, all the products in the process, right? And 95% are focused on biases. You claim you have a product approved and okay, it's approved on this limited data. It's engineering. It's an engineering problem. Honestly, it's not a medical problem when it comes to FDA approvals. Okay, you had say 2 million images, you had this training, you had this skin type, you had this camera lens for your image acquisition. What happens tomorrow when the camera is updated, when you have a different skin type, when you have different age, different patient cohorts? So those are all the biases that you need to have your answer for to be able to go through those regulatory challenges. Again, it's a really interesting space. It's one of the important parts of the implementation science that you need to really be really good at it. And I think it's the water is getting clear. We don't have best practices, best examples in the market. You may find class 2 AI powered solutions. It's just like so many predicate devices out there for radiology for different applications. I don't really count them as true AI applications in healthcare. The new ones, there are so many challenges we don't have the answers for unless we look at the real outcome data from the market, and also we monitor what's happening. One of the biases will be basically, for example, it's really technical. I'm happy to connect and talk to any of you interested in this topic. I still love my science hat better than my business hat. But like when it comes to the bias, for example, you have a company that comes and says, you know what, I have this application trained on these 100,000 images. Look, 98% accuracy on this problem. And okay, where is the image coming from? Oh, we had dermatologists as part of our team. Good job. Now you move to the real world business. Who is going to use your product? Probably not dermatologists, maybe GPs, mid-levels, other non-specialists. And then you have a different type of user who is collecting different type of data, right? Dermatologist was focused on high-risk patients. Good luck. Your GP is seeing like all of us, right? So the bias in patient cohort is really important. The bias in the images taken by different devices they have is really important. So it's a really interesting space when you look at the challenges. And I think the regulatory bodies don't have all the answers themselves. They will come to you with so many questions. And the good thing about our platform was that, for example, they asked us, oh, can your device work with iPhone cameras or device? I mean, the software AI we have for diagnostics, it's called medical device and software as medical device. Can it work with Android? And we pull the data and we show them 11 different device profiles we have in our 10 million images and showing the performance over those. Imagine we had just purchased 200,000 images from one center. Like how you can be confident that the doctor in Singapore sending images to you, to your database, will have similar patients to what you will have in Texas or in, in different parts of the region that you are focused on. So I would say just be honest with yourself as a company or as an investor or as someone who is really interested in the space and see like what are those gaps and biases and shortcomings and rare cases and worst cases that your AI will fail. And those are the ones that matter. We were talking about examples of like self-driving cars. So many people are dying every day in accidents. Nobody's making the news. And now like one self-driving car crashes a tree and it's everywhere, right? Or a car, I don't know, like crashed a dog, or there was an accident I heard recently. And that was also like making the news. So those failures will make the news. So you need to be really, really good at predicting those and communicating those, right? It's an easy thing to say to the doctor, you know what, this is difficult for AI as well. Sorry, doctor, I cannot help you, rather than giving them a wrong diagnosis. For example, this is just one example when it comes to computer interaction. So yeah, sorry, I think it took longer than what I was planning to talk.
Yeah, you make a very good point. Recently, we just launched a new version of our software with two machine learning technologies. One of them just got FDA approval a few months ago, and it was relatively simple, to be honest. It was for orthopedics and MSK to look at tendons and segment them and measure them. Nothing super novel, just a more streamlined workflow. But that took us from start to finish about 2 years to go through the data processing, the training, and then especially going through the pre-sub with the FDA, and then finally getting it approved. I think it was in October, we heard feedback from a few clinicians, hey, like I do so many procedures with your ultrasound, and you know what, I got to press this button on the iPad to make something happen, capture an image or change the depth. Can I just like speak to it, like Siri? Yeah, I guess so, So in about 3 months, we developed a machine learning model just to handle a few simple voice commands and trigger the ultrasound to do something. And this has a massive, much more broader audience in terms of our user base who's going to use voice commands, which doesn't even go into the regulatory framework at all, versus something that took 2 years, which is like such a small subset of our user base. So it goes to show that you can develop AI machine learning tools. You don't need to put necessarily a ton of rigor into the diagnostic side, as long as you're helping your customers. And for us, it's getting people to use the device more efficiently and hopefully more widespread, so that they talk to their physician friends and say, hey, this is going to change your practice. So.
So I think sort of building on some of the things I heard here, I think if you haven't felt that way, I'm quite envious of you. I certainly feel like I will probably get replaced by ChatGPT any moment now. But I think certainly the hype and the concerns and skepticism and optimisms. I think we all feel the emotional roller coaster in terms of what we're seeing from all manners of AI. But I guess the question I sort of have, thinking about this, when you're going to market with your solution and leveraging it, I can imagine there's a lot of emotion on the other side of the table. We've sort of briefly chatted about the regulatory side, but I can imagine there's a lot of concern. So what sort of frictions are you experiencing as you bring these things to market? What sort of questions or uncertainties are you facing as you deploy your benefits? Kris, I'll start with you.
Sure. I think, again, kind of going back to the diagnostic side, like everyone would love to be able to use ultrasound and say, in our space mostly, is that a tear in the muscle? If you get into oncology, am I looking at a tumor in the liver or some other organ? I'm looking at the heart, does it have an abnormal ejection fraction? And those are all amazing problems to solve, and people are working on those. But the time and rigor that's needed to efficiently ensure that those models are developed correctly and deployed properly and account for bias, as Maryam and Jason have been talking about, that's a big undertaking. And I think that we need to, again, take a step back and say, how can we create systems that are going to get to market faster so that people can realize the benefits of AI without waiting this or having this long journey to get there? We're deploying technologies like ChatGPT, for instance, in a matter of months, and it's starting to change the world. So I think that we can try and take a similar approach in healthcare without creating additional risks and really optimizing workflow and using things like NLP or voice or what have you, just to help people realize the benefits.
In our case, I think it comes again to that implementation that I agree with Kris. If you have a tool that doctors are using, they're enjoying it every day for so many reasons, not just for diagnostic purposes, and it's going to be easier to adopt the solution. And it's basically happening so slowly that they don't even think they are threatened because it's part of their practice. It's helping them. One of the doctors told us, oh, look at, like in 6 minutes, I could examine this high-risk patient using your product. We have a total body imaging system as well, software. And it would take me like 45 minutes, honestly, with this super expensive machine we had in the hospital that we purchased like for $250,000. Oh my God, that was such a waste of money. So this is enough. Like this is what I could put in any investor pitch when I go and say, look, this is how they are using the system. And now, oh, this is very cool. I have images similar to the image that actually I'm looking at, and it can help me with diagnosing patients. It would be very nice if you could tell me what happened to similar patients. This is like coming from the users every day, right? Like this is, you're getting the feedback. You also see that they want AI for therapeutics. They want to see what drug will help their patients, right? And this is because you have just access to that data and they know that you can help them. So I think this is really important. Again, focusing on human-computer interaction. It's really, really challenging. We are doing so many studies now. We are looking at user types, different specialties. For example, we are studying nurses, GPs, dermatologists. We have dermato-oncologists, cancer specialists, and we show the result of AI, and we want to see how this is changing their performance. It's totally variable. And we actually could show that regular derms could be better than cancer specialists if they were just looking at the analysis. But this is helping the doctor to be better rather than replacing them. So I think like as a company, as a partner with these health systems, you show in practice that you're part of their team, you're helping them with saving costs, you're listening to them, you're not just like launching overnight like ChatGPT and say, oh, doctor, bye. Like we learned from you and now we're gonna replace you. And I don't think healthcare is something that you can do that easily. I wouldn't trust any AI system to diagnose or treat my mother today, right? And I'm a scientist, my PhD was in medical imaging. I know all the gaps, but I will go to a doctor who uses the best system to look at similar cases and to predict what will work for my mother, right? Because we have so many examples. And yeah, I think when it comes to the forces against adoption, we just need to have that human-computer interaction studied very well. And also there was a study, I can talk forever about AI. I'm so excited about like all the possibilities. But one study, my favorite study, if you want to look at dermatology and AI and the Google publications, it was published in Nature. It was showing that all users, no matter what is their specialty, could benefit from AI and should listen to AI if they are not confident 5 out of 5. If they are even confident 4 out of 5, they should listen to AI. If they are confident 5 out of 5, even it's a nurse, someone not a specialist, confident this is psoriasis, they should not go to AI. It will decrease their accuracy. This was a very simple point, but actually we adopted that in our implementation, our studies, and we see that every day. So it's not going to be basically a failure for an AI system to tell you, oh, this is at the marker point, or it's a mole. If you are 100%, this is a marker point and you give it to AI. That doesn't matter. You're confident. You should not ask AI about that. AI can help you for difficult cases.
So our end users are in the end medicinal chemists. So the interaction there is a little bit different. Building confidence is effectively done via the approaches that I talked about a little before. Something that's interesting in this interaction is, at least at present, the systems are not sufficiently accurate that they'll be able to say, here are 10 compounds, synthesize these 10 compounds next. In particular, if you look at the published literature on ML for drug discovery algorithms, if you read the methodology carefully, many of these systems are using what they call a generative AI system to produce 10,000 molecules. And then they have trained medicinal chemists go through this list of 10,000 and select 20 from the list. And then they'll actually test those 20 and say, hey, we found 3 reasonable hits out of these 20 from the 10,000 produced by the AI system. Wonderful success. AI discovered molecule. You know, we're going to be able to revolutionize everything. Costs will go down by a factor of 10. Everything will take months instead of years. And this is largely bogus. You're basically using some relatively simple computer algorithms in order to define a virtual screening library to which you are then applying massive amounts of human expertise. The point at which you really gain traction, the point at which you really begin to impress the user base and induce them to use your predictions more than their own insight, is when you're able to select a list of 100, and when you actually synthesize those 100, you get 10 or 20 hits out of those. So it's the systems that are currently in use by most of the companies that are practicing this technique. They are doing their best to make it sound as if they have impressive results. They're certainly making incremental progress towards that end success, but the systems are not there yet.
So I think we just have a few minutes left. So maybe a question or two that we can have our esteemed panelists answer, something that's burning a hole in your mind. So if I can repeat the question for those who are online, I think it's effectively, how does, maybe infrastructure like graphic cards, compute power, et cetera, affect your business? If that's okay. Who wants to take that? All right.
So for any deep learning algorithm that you're training yourself, you basically need NVIDIA GPUs. They have a stranglehold on the market. They are the only architecture that's able to efficiently and broadly accelerate the sort of deep learning algorithms that everybody uses. GPUs are extremely difficult to get your hands on. Whenever we want to expand our cluster, it will be a many multi-month lead time in order to get the GPUs that we need. Everything else is, there obviously were supply chain issues throughout COVID, but getting your hands on A40s or A100s, or God forbid the H series cards, they're extremely difficult. People talk about cloud compute. If you try to get access to GPU instances on GCP or AWS, there's tons of CPU resources available. Getting your hands on 1,000 GPUs to use for a couple of days is basically impossible, or at least we aren't paying enough money to get them. And it really is just NVIDIA. The AMD cards are not capable of supporting the workflows that people need. The special purpose architectures that are in development are not really general purpose enough yet that they'd be what you want to use for exploratory work. So it's definitely a problem. The other thing that kills us is the consumer grade cards are many times more cost efficient than the server grade cards. It is illegal to run a consumer grade card in a data center, even if it's your own data center. So you end up taking a big cost hit there.
So notwithstanding its massive run up and 50% raise, NVIDIA maybe is a buy on your portfolio list. Yeah, I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon. Anyways, Delzell. Oh, well, one more. Okay, one more question. Who's jumping at the bit?
Yeah, I guess the other question is, so I see that as a limitation for small companies like yours, as we consider investing or backing companies, and we consider that companies with bigger pockets and deeper pockets will have the advantage over companies like yours. What would you say to something like that?
I think you're always looking at some of the parts, sensors, camera lenses, GPU cards, those are one of the forces. There's so many other forces. Companies like us, they are more economy. We are really good at developing tools. We are really good at selling to Australian cancer centers from our small company. No one could basically find about us 2015 when we launched, but we actually, for example, in this conference, we sold out our devices to all these big companies. I think one of those forces is actually your partnerships, your strategy. When our Series A investors came to us, we had the same day deal. They fly from Australia, meet us from 9 to 5 p.m. And then we had the deal offer for twice as what we were looking for. And in my conversation with our lead investor, Scott Farquhar from Atlassian, he told me, Maryam, what actually attracted me to you guys, it was like how big you were thinking. When I asked you who was going to acquire you, you were like, I think the future is with like maybe Google, Apple, Samsung, and I've already had meetings with executives, and this is going to be like a consumer play in dermatology and AI, but this is like 10 years from now. And this is the only way you can make $1 billion company in this space. And these are like a couple of sentences. And I was just thinking about that, like seriously, it wasn't to convince this investor about like what I think, right? So those are some of the parts, right? Like our investors, we are so thankful for all the support we've had from our investors. Those are one of those parts. Jason, Laura, the Nimbus team, they have been amazing. And so my point is, it's not like just these big companies. Okay, who they're investing on, right? Look at the venture arms. I can name all of the pharma companies I've had meetings with, and we've decided to move on, or they have decided not to invest on. So, I mean, it's not just like, oh, small companies won't succeed and you need to be a big one to succeed. I don't think that's the case. Investors are one of the parts and they really matter. And I think it's about the strategy, execution. I would focus on execution. I would focus on execution, and also how good you are at surviving. That really matters.
So I think with that, we will wrap it up. I want to give my great thanks and hopefully the audience as well for your time and your insights, invaluable. A better esteemed panel in healthcare and AI you cannot have. So thank you very much for making the time.
All right, thank you very much, Jason and Maryam and Kris. That was a really valuable information that you provided for us. Geez, I didn't think that you could. I think you rival Lesley Esford's information as well. As I said, all of this is being recorded and it will be on our website, so you can take a look. Welcome to VanTech Angel Network Inc. We've been operating these events every single month since April 1999, except for August. We all need a break. And here's our agenda today. We're going to start off with the presentations, and then we have a few community announcements, and followed by the company presentations, and then we get to eat and drink. We've got a great caterer and some great wine. All right, we just heard a great presentation just the past hour on the artificial intelligence impact on the life sciences and the health tech sectors. We've got great information from Lesley Esford, and then we had a panel discussion afterwards that was moderated by Jason Robertson of Nimbus Synergies, who's been a very supportive partner for VanTech. So we're really grateful to have these people help us out. So, well, before we get started, with gratitude and respect, we are acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Okay, so what is VanTech? Well, you think operating for almost a quarter century. You figured us out by now, but we are a group of dedicated angel investors to support our BC-based high growth ventures with capital and, more importantly, connections and advice. We have, we're over 180 members. We're one of Canada's, not only one of the oldest angel groups, but also one of the largest angel groups, certainly the largest in BC at over 180 members. We've had over 3,000 companies present to us, and a lot of them have received funding from you, all angel investors. Okay, we were helped along by quite a few organizations. So we wanted to give some acknowledgement to the Canadian government, particularly the NRC IRAP program, and of course, two professional angel organizations, the Canadian-based National Angel Capital Organization and the US-based Angel Capital Association. And just to let you know that if you are a member of VanTech, you are automatically a member of NACO and ACA. Here's some stats. The most important is the last one. Last year, we had over 154 companies raise $16 million from us. I think that's a great achievement, and you should all give yourselves a pat on the back for that. We have a number of funds that are associated very closely with VanTech, and that's the E-Fund and Woodif. And of course, individual angels themselves make investments in BC companies. You can become a member if you're not already a member. It's only $600 a year. And if you're associated with one of our partners, it's only $400 a year. Great benefits. But if you can't make it to all our meetings and perhaps you're out of town, maybe an online membership at half the price might be suited for you. Talk to any of the VanTech members that are in the audience to learn about their experiences. Of course, we have lots of VanTech team members around that could answer your questions. We want to give a big thanks to longtime network sponsors. Without them, we would not have these events. So big hand to Fasken, Raymond James, Tandem Innovation Group, OKR, Western Pacific Trust Company, Go Recruitment, Invest Ventures, and special mention to SFU VentureLabs, who is hosting us at this wonderful space that we're in right now. Of course, we couldn't do this without our community partners. I already mentioned E-Fund and Woodif, the two funds that are most closely aligned with VanTech, but we're also grateful to be associated with Kretzy Forum, Tandem, Go Recruitment, Rocket Builders, Volition, Spring, and of course our two professional organizations, ACA and NACO. So we already went over the agenda today, so nothing's changed. All right, so we're going to be starting off with company presentations, and you're going to be asked for investor feedback. Now, some of you may see some QR codes on your desks in front of you, and there will be a QR code flashed on the screen. And also if you're online, you'll see a link to do company feedback. So let's start off with some community announcements. We're very involved in the community. So I'm going to ask Dave Thomas from SFU VentureLabs to start things off.
Super, thank you very much, Thelsel. I'm up here, I've talked a bit about this in the past. I think I have one slide, if we can find it. One of the programs that's coming out is, it's called now Accelerate IP. It's a federal program. The federal government is going to put as much as $10 million into assisting companies with filing patents over the next 3 years. So if you are an investor or you're with a company and a patent is part of your roadmap in the next little while, 75% of the cost is something that can be subsidized. It's called Accelerate IP here. There will be an information session for both of these programs on the 28th between 12:30 and 2. The other program that we're going to produce is something we're doing in conjunction with Innovate BC, and it's to assist companies with preparing and going to and then following up on SAS North in Ottawa in November. And that is a good software exhibition and good trade show. And Innovate BC was involved last year. We're going to work with them this year. At the same time, we're also going to have another fireside chat, which is about life sciences. And it will feature Lesley, who we had from earlier on, but also Roger Kuipers from Faskins. So if you're interested in either of these programs, there will be a landing page on the VentureLabs website where you can go up and get more information and start to sign up. The Accelerate IP program will roll out this summer. The other one will start in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Next up with a community announcement is Roger Killen, VanTech's community manager.
Ireland on the East Coast has got 3 major cities: Belfast in the north, Waterford in the south, and in the middle, there's Dublin. Now, if you go due west at 120 miles, 190 kilometers, you'll come across the West Coast city, and that city is called Limerick. What is Limerick famous for? Limericks. What is a limerick? A limerick is a 5-line poem. Lines 1, 2, and 5 rhyme, and lines 3 and 4 rhyme. Would you like an example? Attention, VanTech members, old and new. Spread the word, we have something to pursue. Bring your angel friends, invite them all. Let's create a network strong and tall. Because when we do, great ideas will break through. Thank you. My fellow members, I want you to remember that we're off in August, so July the 5th is the next and last opportunity in this half of the year to bring your angel friends out to one of our monthly meetings. Only when you do will they discover the beauty that is VanTech.
Thank you very much, Roger. All right, we have a few more community announcements. First up, we'll hear from Front Row Ventures.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me well? Yeah. Yes? Okay, I'll take this for yes. I'm gonna be a bit less poetic, but still very, very happy to be here. I prepared a couple of slides to prepare Front Row Ventures, and I want to start by thanking so much the VanTech community and also What If Capital for inviting me to this session. Here is a couple of slides on Front Row Ventures. So, world's biggest tech companies all got started on campuses, and yet student founders are underrepresented in VC funding. Why is that so, do you think? Well, because traditional VC cannot have eyes everywhere. There's just too many. Well, at Front Row Ventures, we do. We have highly trained investment scouts on more than 20 campuses in Quebec, Ontario, and now, very proud to say, in BC, looking for the best student founders at any time. And as a result, we get there first. My name is Emmanuel Coppinger, and I'm the Managing Director of Front Row Ventures, Canada's leading university-focused and student-operated VC firm. Over the past 6 years, our scouts have reviewed 1,700 student-led startups, and we've deployed $900K in the best 36 of them. Combined, they've gone on to raise over 100 million in follow-on funding with top-tier investors. And we're also really very proud that we've recently experienced our biggest exit with Valence Discovery being acquired for more than $60 million by a NASDAQ-listed company. Our strategy of being first check into these high potential companies is proving to deliver strong returns. Our net consolidated IRR is over 21%, with a TVPI of 1.73. With our unique operational model involving students on both sides of the equation, not only do we bridge the gap of pre-seed funding in Canada for student entrepreneurs, but we're also training the next generation of investors. How do we make sure our scouts make the best investment decisions? Well, first, we have a highly selective recruitment process. Then we give them a 3-month immersive theory training. And then they have 9 months minimum of real experience investing real money into real startups. Now that our model has been proven out east, we're raising a 5 million pan-Canadian fund to back more ambitious student founders across the country, including in BC. In this context, we're doubling down on our strategy to select strategic LPs out west, just like we did so far out east, many of which are exited entrepreneurs, angel investors like you, or even VC firms. And I'm very excited to share that we are over our 5 million initial target with great traction from stellar VC investors. I'm sure you will recognize many of them on this slide. But as we have big ambitions, we've decided to raise the limit to $5.5 million. I'm looking forward to engaging with strategic investors who are interested in making attractive returns, mentoring student founders, and contributing to the training of the next tech generation in Canada. Feel free to reach out if you're interested in knowing more. Obviously, I'll be happy to share my deck and give you access to the data room. We're looking for a final close on August 15. I really want to thank you all for your attention and the opportunity to present Front Row Ventures. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Emmanuel and Front Row Ventures. Okay, I'd like to call Tremi to come up and talk about this really fantastic program that Spring Activator's holding.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having me here today. I'd love to see a show of hand here. Anyone who are health entrepreneurs looking to raise capital soon? Hi there. Oh, a great crowd. And anyone who's interested in investing into the health innovation sector? Sounds great. So I have a program for you. We have the BC Health Investment Readiness Program that's starting next week. It's basically a program where we are training a cohort of up to 20 health entrepreneurs to be ready to raise capital. We are looking for entrepreneurs who are pre-Series A based in BC and thinking about raising capital right now or in the next 3 to 6 months. We will be training you through all aspects of building up your data room, getting your pitch ready so that you can reach out to investors. On the other hand, starting from September, we will have our Nimbus Synergies Impact Investor Challenge, in which we will be facilitating a group of up to 20 angel investors, going through all the different aspects of due diligence, and in the end, deciding to invest at least $100,000 into one startup of their choice. So if you're an investor thinking about investing in the health innovation sector, or an entrepreneur, a health entrepreneur thinking about raising capital for your business, do reach out to us. Oh, so I have prepared a slide with the QR code, but you can go up on spring.is in order to find out more, or you can also talk to me. The application deadline for entrepreneurs is this Sunday, so please apply very soon because our first cohort session is next week. For investors, you have until September, but do let me know if you want to find out any more information, and I'd love to talk more. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're a really great community. There's so many resources to support entrepreneurs and investors. So here's another one from Praxis. Oh, we're having technical difficulties with getting Praxis from online. Anyway, calling all medtech entrepreneurs who are working on a technology, product, or service with the potential impact on people with a spinal cord injury to apply for the Praxis SCI Accelerate program, offering tailored clinical and end use products. Oh, and look at that. That was the QR codes that you were talking about for Spring Activator. So we got, so if you're interested in the Spring Activator program, take a picture of that. And we could scroll back or take a look at the website. You'll see the information for the SCI Praxis Accelerator. Okay, with that, we're going to move on into other announcements. Just take a look at our website. There's lots of events coming up for both investors and entrepreneurs. So here's the listing of the investor events, which you can also find on the website. And of course, the community events. All right, so before we get into the company presentations, just a bit of household etiquette. If you're an online presenter, of course, keep yourself on mute until it's your turn to speak. Because we don't want to hear any beeping, we just want to hear your presentation. So no soliciting unless you're presenting entrepreneurs. So that's all part and parcel of how you network to make new connections. And if you're online, please identify yourself, whether you're a company, an investor, or a community partner. If you're in person, there is a square here. To make sure you stand in it so that you're in the camera view, keep the microphone closed for the best audio and use the remote to advance your slides. I personally prefer voice activation. Okay, tips for entrepreneurs. I guess the bottom line is network, network, network. Just keep us all up to date. Your GUS profile that you had submitted to present at VanTech is a really great tool because we share your pitch recorded in your GUS profile with our members. Not only that, VanTech is part of the ACA Pacific Northwest region, and we meet every single month and we talk and promote our companies that present at VanTech. If you're not hooked up to our wireless, there's credentials. So you can take a picture of that for posterity for next time. And right after we finish all the presentations, we're going to need your help to move and reconfigure this room so that the presenters will have their own tables to, as exhibit tables to talk to you more about their product or service and their company generally. And there's the map. That's what it's going to look like right afterwards. So there's a lot of activity right after we finish the presentations. And we'll just end here. Lots of ways to get in touch with us. Our website, our email, info@vantech.ca. And of course, follow or like us on all the social media channels that you see here. With that, we're going to start with the 90-second spots. Both company updates, companies who have presented to VanTech before, and they're coming back here to tell us what's new with them. They might be raising another round. And also previews of companies who have not presented before, and this is their first introduction into our community. And with the introduction of all the 90-second spots, I'm going to call up our founder of VanTech, Mike Volker.
Thanks, Delzo. Nice to see everybody here this afternoon. Just by way of a comment, we have so many exciting new companies coming from everywhere all of the time. We've just this year alone, we had some 300 startups enter the New Ventures competition, just as an example. As you know, this week is Startup Week and startups are everywhere. There's just so many companies. And one of the challenges for us at VanTech is giving everyone the opportunity to pitch. And we don't like to leave people out, which is why we came up with the idea of the updates and especially the previews. So if someone is really anxious to get in front of you to make a presentation, they can come and give a 90-second pitch, and hopefully you'll mingle with them or meet with them afterwards. And hopefully we will invite them back to make a full presentation. So the idea of these next 10 companies that you're going to hear is just to either remind you in case you've seen them before, or to introduce you to them in case you haven't seen them yet, and hopefully you'll reach out to them and have a conversation. So the first up, we have three previews. So we have mlHealth 360. So I'll call on mlHealth, and then next on deck, we could have Gene Biomedical Be Prepared. And I think these are online. Sorry? Conquer Mobile? Oh, sorry, I apologize. I'm on the wrong page. Yeah, sorry. So updates, Conquer Mobile, Conquer Experiences, Conquer Online or live? You're here.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay.
It's your
Thank
show.
you. Okay,
You got
we can
90
use
seconds.
this. Awesome. And it'll show up on there too? Okay. Okay. You're gonna go back one? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Robert. I'm the CEO of a company called Conquer Experience, and today I'm going to talk about our product, PeriOpSim. Now, what PeriOpSim is, it's a surgical training and assessment platform for operating room nurses, the nurses that pass instruments to surgeons during surgery. Now, the problem that we're solving is that it takes a really long time to get these surgical nurses up to speed, and it costs over $120,000 to train each nurse, and the hospital bears the brunt of that cost. Now, what our platform does is we take a 1 hour long procedure and we make it 10 minutes in simulation. With our platform, we're able to shorten the training by 20%, both time and cost, which is a big deal for healthcare that's struggling to recruit and train new nurses. Customers include Boston Children's Hospital, Kaiser Permanente, the VA. We have saved and moved over 100,000 of clinical training hours that are typically done with job shadowing into simulation. So that's made a huge impact on the entire surgical team with our customer base. Now, we have reached a very, very exciting milestone for any company. We've hit over $1 million in annual recurring revenue US. We're bootstrapped. We've been bootstrapping since about 2019. We've grown from up to 15 people, and we're raising a safe. We've got 200,000 of 500 US committed. And if you want to talk to me, come see me later. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. I love that when they say they have recurring revenues already. Music to my ears. Okay, and probably to yours as well. Next up, we have ViewsML. And then following Views, if we could have D2Type Be Prepared. And now ViewsML.
Okay, all right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kenny Toe. I'm the CEO for ViewsML. I'm going to tell you how we're revolutionizing what's called spatial biology using AI. So in the context of everything, immunohistochemistry is a lab process that is valued at about $14 billion as a market. And it's commonly used from drug development through to clinical diagnostics. So just to give a little bit of framework for precision medicine, an example, the way you detect patients is by using this process to understand the genetic differences between them. So IHC for short is the lab process that's used for this detection. And this is a schematic of that process. The details aren't important. Just know that it takes days, it's expensive, it's highly variable in the results that are ultimately looked at, as you can see in that small picture on the bottom right. The innovation with our technology is using AI deep learning to virtualize and completely bypass all of these physical steps associated with this wet lab process. So we save 100% of the time, 50% of the budget, and ultimately generate a 15x ROI for our customers. So we're looking to raise 3 million. We're in process right now. In terms of pipeline, we've generated in the last few months over 30 pharma potential customers within our pipeline, 2 in contracting right now. And just a quote from one of them saying why they want to collaborate with us is basically our ability to provide this spatial expression that no one really can. So with that, I'll stop there and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kenneth. Next then is D2Type Health Inc.
Hi, I'm Amane, co-founder of D2Type. Did you know that 1 in 3 people live with diabetes? Sadly, over 20 Canadian and more than 280 Americans lose their lives every day due to diabetes. Unfortunately, current medical approaches have failed to tackle this crisis. At D2Type, we are developing a mobile app to empower at-risk individuals to prevent and reverse type 2 diabetes. We together have over 30 years of experience in building a solution that can save lives by managing diabetes. Our solution has been confirmed by clinical study in over 75,000 patients. We have surrounded our management team with highly experienced consultant and diverse and talented team member. D2Type offers personalized health coaching and using digital tech in monitoring lifestyle metrics. With the power of AI, our platform can predict the likelihood of diabetes. Regarding the value proposition, D2Type offers personalized health coaching to empower at-risk employees to manage their diabetes, leading to increased productivity and reduced healthcare costs with a return on investment in less than 1 year. And for participants, a moderate weight loss of approximately 5% of initial body weight, the risk of diabetes can be reduced by 60%. We have initial agreement, not initial agreement, we have agreement and secure $150K in funding to run our pilots. And we will raise $600,000 to develop our AI and scale up our services. Please join us to support at-risk people before losing another life. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. So that's it for the 3 previews, or updates rather. Now we go into the previews. And first up, we have mlHealth 360. And then following that, we'll have Gene Biomedical.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kumar Surender Senwar. I'm CEO of mlHealth 360. We have all heard panelists and Lesley talk a lot about AI, ML in healthcare and what burden on healthcare we have worldwide right now. Shortage of practitioners, timely access to healthcare services, and many more. I'm here today to talk about, and let's talk about some facts. So we have around 95 million, this is North American stats, 95 million CT scans happening on an annual basis. And did you know that we have just in 2022, 5.7 million misdiagnoses, from which 1.9 were basically delayed or never happened. And these are from the research. I'm here to talk about SCADA, our AI-powered imaging platform for radiologists, oncologists, and institutions. We have taken a detailed look at the process efficiencies end-to-end, whether it is from a reporting standpoint, access standpoint, interaction with the hardware standpoint, and we have built models that helps with the anomaly detections in the 8 anatomic regions. It's a combination of making this workflow smarter, anomaly detections. We are focusing on brain CT, and eventually we're gonna focus on oral cancer and lung cancer. We have access to large exclusive data sets vetted and by system by 40 radiologists in the team. We are already doing clinical trials in India. That is the region we have chosen. And we are also talking to 400 centers in India as we speak. We've done a seed funding of $750K into this product with our partners and founder money. And I'm looking here for advisors and to take the missions locally. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Gene Biomedical, and on deck, Mendel's. Turn it over to Gene Biomedical.
Hi, folks. My name's Jeff Rutledge. I was a co-founder at Pay by Phone, also at Liquid Home Ownership, and now I'm honored to be on Jessica Hu's team at Gene Biomedical. I'm going to use a crush because I talk fast and I talk too much, so I'm going to use my cards here. So for some context. The healthcare industry is in a bit of crisis, but a revolution has been unfolding over the last decade or so to improve costs and efficiency at the point of care. COVID has sparked an acceleration of this process by normalizing the use of inexpensive diagnostic tools outside of the lab. This small change has created a huge opportunity. The market size for point of care diagnostics is large and growing, and Gene Biomedical is uniquely positioned to see market opportunity, source the necessary R&D, and facilitate the commercialization of products that are driving this growth. We've got a proven track record for the last, these are our first 2 years financials. So we have a proven track record of building made in Canada biomanufacturing capacity, pioneering low-cost manufacturing to stay competitive globally, steering R&D efforts to deliver market-driven solutions while maintaining IP rights, and seeing market trends through our direct sales channels. Gene Biomedical's CEO, Jessica Hu, is a industry veteran with a bold vision for transforming the possibilities at the point of care while with wide-ranging diagnostics. She saw the opportunity to evolve beyond lateral flow, which is all those test kits that you've got in your drawer, and created PCR and ELISA products to bridge the gap. I'm going to skip right forward to our current. The ask is we're currently raising $10 million on and we need help sourcing strategically valuable sources of capital. So come and find me and Ian, my partner here, after the break. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And you've got revenue, wonderful. Okay, next is Mendel's, and on deck, VanTech Medical.
This or that?
Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. May I just, before I begin, may I get a show of hands? How many of you here have done a DNA test on yourself? Okay, not a lot of people. Well, it's so easy nowadays to order a DNA test online over the internet. But the thing is, very few people have actually been able to use any of that information, especially when it comes to our daily lives. So Mendel's is a UBC startup that provides actionable insight based on genetic risk factors to tackle vitamins. As consumers, we spend about $30 billion every year on vitamins, and very few of us actually knows what exactly are we supposed to be taking. And so Mendel's provides a streamlined online shopping experience. You do a DNA test, do it at home, very convenient, and we use our proprietary algorithm to map your gene variants and your behaviors against databases of nutrition processing inside the body. And we produce a report card for everyone that is of scientifically proven risk factors for your nutrition. And so based on your results, we also provide personalized vitamins in a daily pack. And we are a DNA company, but also a software tech company. And we are looking for partners and investors to grow together. please come talk to us later.
Thank you. Yeah, 90 seconds goes by so quickly, doesn't it? It takes hours and hours to prepare for a 90-second presentation. Okay, VanTech Medical is up next. VanTech is not a spin-off of VanTech, the angel network, but it could be if we invest appropriately, then we could claim you as a spin-off. So here you go.
Hi, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa, and I'm the co-founder of VanTech Medical. We are a startup developing cost-effective and innovative medical devices and applications. We are here today looking to raise $300,000 to help streamline our development process. VanTech's flagship product aims to solve the issue of difficult intravenous access in healthcare settings. Imagine you or someone you love is in the hospital in critically ill condition and in desperate need of an IV start to begin in emergency measures. But finding a suitable vein soon becomes a daunting challenge for the nurses, resulting in an hour-long process of multiple painful needle sticks and heaps of uncertainty. This is the reality of patients all over the world today. Over 80% of patients admitted require IV starts, but up to 40% of patients encounter difficult intravenous access. This can result in significant health complications and delay healthcare delivery immensely. But what if I told you we had the power to change this? Introducing MR Vein, a wearable immersive-based vein finder that can quickly and accurately locate veins the very first attempt, reducing multiple insertions and negative patient experiences. Unlike traditional vein finders that are extremely expensive and have inefficient user design, MR Vein provides an easy-to-use, hands-free system. Invest in better care, invest in improved patient outcomes, invest in MR Vein today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is NeuroCog, and on deck, CereCura. Okay, here we go.
Hi, my name is Walter. I have a question for you, for those of you who are over the age of 65. Have you noticed a decline in your mental performance? No, great, great. Yeah, good one. Well, unfortunately, that's not just aging, but well, NeuroCog offers a solution. We provide tools to predict and monitor cognition performance, cognitive performance. We start with a baseline, comprehensive baseline assessment, and from that we track performance over age, over time. Right, but so what? Can you treat cognitive decline? I guess that's a good question. Yes, you can, but it has to be detected early on. And that's where NeuroCog comes in, right? We have a system that leverages on eye tracking, advanced cognitive testing, and speech recognition. With those, our AI-powered clinical decision support system guides doctors to the best treatment. So today, we are offering this baseline assessment for free to those who join our wait list. Okay, and for all of you who are not yet over the age of 65 but care for your loved ones, please reach me out after the session. Finally, I invite you all to embrace the boundless possibilities of an ageless mind. Thank you.
Thank you. And CereCura, did I pronounce that correctly? CereCura. And then on deck, we'll have treatment.com.
Hello, everyone. So we are CereCura. I'm Louis-Philippe Bernier, and this is Nick Wellinger. So every one of us knows someone currently suffering from a brain disorder. They affect about 10% of the world's population, and they cause an enormous social and economic burden. And the reason for that is that traditional drug approaches have generally failed at treating them. So at CereCura, we're developing a different drug modality, one that harnesses the brain's own cells into producing their own medicine. It's a versatile technology that allows us to potentially treat many disease indications in the brain, like stroke, Alzheimer's, cancers, and others. We're treating brain disorders with therapeutic proteins, but using a transformative approach. We already know that protein X could be beneficial for stroke recovery or protein Y could help treat Parkinson's. But delivering proteins to the brain has been practically impossible so far. So what we're doing is using lipid nanoparticles and RNA to instruct cells in the brain into effectively becoming protein bioreactors within the brain environment itself, thereby producing and delivering therapeutic proteins to the right site of action, for the right duration, and for the appropriate concentration to effectively treat brain disorders.
Our leadership team is made up of neuroscientists who have made careers out of understanding what goes wrong in brain disease. And now we're pivoting to try and fix this problem. And so we've teamed up with Peter Cullis, who's a world expert in drug delivery technology and a successful entrepreneur. And together we're combining our expertise to use this understanding of disease and brain disease pathology and harness and apply this know-how to deliver this LNP RNA technology in a differentiated way. And so we're looking to expand our team and make new connections. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Peter Cullis is a great endorsement. The next and final 90-second presentation is treatment.com, and this is online. And Kevin Peterson, turn it over to you.
Thanks very much. I'm Kevin Peterson. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for treatment.com. Treatment is a Vancouver company that focuses on the application of AI in healthcare. We provide the resources for intelligent, personalized prevention, diagnostic, and treatment information. Our customers are healthcare systems, the medical industry, academic organizations, and of course, healthcare providers. In 90 seconds, we engaged over 150 doctors. We have a network of over 150 doctors that have been working for 5 years to create what is the world's highest quality, comprehensive neural network of medical knowledge optimized for artificial intelligence. This covers over 1,000 diseases, basically most of the common diseases encountered anywhere in the world, and tens of thousands of symptoms and risk factors. The data includes physical exam findings, laboratory findings, radiology, complications, etiology, family history, genetics, existing medical conditions, complications, exposures, smoking, alcohol, medications, drugs, travel. It's that information is supported by a Bayesian expert system that's run on Kubernetes clusters that provide secure and scalable access worldwide. The information is specific to age and gender and location down to the level of the city. We provide that information based on advanced programming interfaces or APIs that provide access into the library. And those APIs are available on a marketplace out of Palo Alto. The APIs are integrated, of course, I have to say this, with ChatGPT and the large language models, but that's not required. And that can raise concerns for some applications of the information. So it's optional. The APIs can be used in multiple different solutions. We currently have them available.
Kevin, I don't know if you heard the bell ring, but I did hear it.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so it's multiple applications, and the revenue is through data exchange through the APIs.
And you're generating revenue through selling the APIs, right?
Correct.
Good. Okay. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Thank you.
I just want to make a quick comment about the last one, because even though we labeled it as a preview because they've not been here before, it's really more of an update. And Aaron and Jerry Kroll and I have spent some time with the company, and it's a classical case of brilliant scientific people, doctors who've created something, but they lack on the management side. So if you're interested in talking to me or Aaron about this, we'd welcome your comments. But I think that this has real potential if we bring in some business expertise to commercialize on what has been developed in this company. So be happy to talk to anyone who's interested in following up. Thelzel, I'm going to turn it over to you for a second or two, and I don't know what all that thumping is, but here we go.
All right, thank you very much. And that was all the 90-second spots. You see on the screen here, a QR code. Vote for your favorite 90-second pitch. And if you're online, You will probably see this QR code, or maybe in the chat box, you'll see the link to this very same poll. So please vote for your favorite 90 seconds, because what we do is that we take the top rated 90 seconds and bring them back to VanTech to present full presentations. So all the full presentations that you're going to be listening to today came through this same route. They did a 90-second and you wanted to hear more. And to introduce all the 90-second pitches, I'm going to call upon the tag team of Mike and Roger. So who's coming up first? 90 seconds? No, for the full presentation. Oh, for the full presentations. I have 90 seconds on my mind because I want you guys all to vote. All right, Mike.
Ready to go? Okay, you're off. Okay, so the way the full presentations work is we allow 10 minutes, not 90 seconds, but 10 minutes. And that is composed of 5 minutes for presentation. And then you, the attendees, get to ask some very hard questions for 5 minutes, and then we move on. So the other thing that happens with the full presentations is that we have an angel sponsor make an introduction. So ideally, this is one of you who have a protege, i.e. the company, and you want to expose it and bring others in to join the party. And so what we're looking for the sponsor to do is to introduce the company and give us a hint or two as to why they're interested and why they think we should be interested to invest. So first up, we're going to have Ginger Desk as the company presenting, and that's going to be Julie Duman, and we have the sponsor, Lauren Sinclair, who's going to say a few words as to why Julie has a hot deal for us, and in particular, why Lauren is keen on it. So Lauren, I'm going to turn it over to you first, and then you can turn it over to Julie.
All right. Well, I'm an angel, but not the right kind, probably. My name is Lauren Sinclair, and I am the Director of People Operations at Ginger Desk. I oversee and support our entire team of virtual medical office assistants. Today, I have the privilege and the honor of introducing an outstanding mentor and entrepreneur, Dr. Julie Durnan. She is the CEO and founder of Ginger Desk. So as Ginger Desk's first employee, I have personally had the pleasure of witnessing our immense success. And I've seen it firsthand right from the start. I have been there since I was hired in fall 2020, and I've been a part of our fast growth. From finding our perfect product market to refining our scale-up strategy. I've also been witness to every ounce of hard work behind the massive leaps we've made at Ginger Desk in our mission to disrupt allied health practice administration. What I can say for certain is this: Dr. Julie is a force to be reckoned with, having already built and operated 2 successful health clinics herself. Ginger Desk is a natural extension of Julie's 20 years of experience in this field, and she's using her expertise to make real difference in people's lives. Over the past 3 years, Dr. Julie has bootstrapped Ginger Desk while keeping us profitable. This achievement alone is a testament to her tenacity, her vision, and her incredible business acumen. Now she stands at an inflection point, facing a critical decision. She must choose between continuing to bootstrap the growth of Ginger Desk, scaling at the pace that our revenue allows, or seek investment and scale up more quickly to seize the market and to seize the market opportunity that is driven by the growing demand for our telehealth services. It's a decision that will require courage, wisdom, and foresight. And I have every confidence that Dr. Julie will make the right choice. So please join me in welcoming the visionary leader and founder of Ginger Desk, Dr. Julie Durnan.
Thank you, Lo. Hi, everyone. Oh dear, I've got two things here. I'd like to tell you a story about Jessica. Jessica is a naturopathic physician who cares deeply about providing exceptional patient care. Like the other 2 million allied healthcare providers all across North America, Jessica enjoys offering telehealth consults to her patients from the comfort of her own home. But when Jessica first moved her practice online, she struggled with balancing the admin needs of her business and patient care. In fact, Jessica tried to do everything on her own, and she was spending more than half her time on admin. That is until she found my company, GingerDesk. GingerDesk offers virtual admin support to health practitioners all across Canada and the US, and they work within our purpose-built unique model all across North America. And now, thanks to GingerDesk, Jessica enjoys a 300% return on her productivity. She has efficient digital workflows. She's sustainably scaling her business, and she sees twice as many patients as she did in the past. My name is Dr. Julie Dernan, and for 20 years, I've been running efficient integrative health clinics. I'm also the very proud founder and CEO of GingerDesk. In just 2 short years, we're now on track to $2 million for 2023, and we already have 125 very happy allied healthcare practitioner clients. GingerDesk is disrupting healthcare. We hire, train, and manage industry-trained medical office assistants to work within our unique model. We offer patient outreach over text, email, and phone, digital workflows, one-on-one support from our expert electronic medical records users, and we are 100% compliant with health regulations. And GingerDesk isn't just a dream. We're succeeding at this today. We cost 1/4 of what it costs to hire, train, and manage conventional office staff. We have a recurring revenue model of annual memberships, and we're growing at 100% year over year. Now, 3 years since COVID forced allied health practitioners online, we still see that 54% of clients or of customers, our customers' consults continue to be offered remotely. And telehealth is growing at over 19% year over year. But there is a huge gap. Solo practitioners and small-scale clinic owners like Jessica aren't set up for a virtual workflow, and this is our opportunity. Our addressable market is made up of 2 million allied healthcare practitioners all across Canada and the US, including naturopathic doctors, chiropractors, physios, and more. We have 5 competitive advantages at GingerDesk. Number 1, we offer pre-trained industry-level medical office assistants who are based in Canada, and they're actually employees of ours. We also have an agile setup. So when practitioners join us, we can get them into our onboarding funnel within 24 hours of signing an agreement. We also promise an A+ fit guarantee and a perfect match VA, thanks to our proprietary Ginger Way matching methodology. And we're affordable at a fraction of what it costs to hire someone to bring them in-house. We also promise no downtime. So when a virtual assistant has an anticipated vacation or even an acute illness, we have a system behind the scenes to get another VA in their seat so that the practice doesn't miss a beat. GingerDesk has been profitable since month 1. We have a recurring revenue model of memberships, and practitioners pay us by the minute for our support. They commit to a certain bundle of minutes per month, and then they pay overages as needed. This makes us affordable and accessible as a fractional service to both small solo practitioners all the way up to large multi-practitioner clinics. Now, until now, we have cobbled together commercially available off-the-shelf software to meet our needs. It's now time to bring our own custom solution online. We're currently in the process of building out a tech platform that will populate a dashboard for the virtual assistants to see the workflows for each practitioner at a moment's notice. We're also building out an AI chat for the practitioners to speak with their VAs confidentially, and we're also building out a time tracker in there. We are way past the point of MVP at this stage, and it's now time for us to really explode our model and show that and really automate our already proven and successful systems. This is what our growth looks like right now. We're on track to 2 million for this year. By 2025, I estimate we'll be at $10 million ARR. And in fact, this is where our gross margin really soars thanks to this new tech platform that we're building out. We are raising $1 million on an equity round, with the proceeds going to our tech build out, 350,000 to critical hires, and 250 to build out our sales and marketing execution. We have done the hard work to prove that our hybrid model and our digital approach works. It's now time for us to pour fuel on the fire. The future is bright for Ginger Desk. Please join us. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Julie. I don't know if we included the introduction in the 5 minutes or not, but the 5 minutes still went by quickly, didn't they?
Sure did.
Yeah. Okay, so Roger's going to entertain questions, and I'm going to get my daily exercise by running around with the microphone so that we can hear who asks the questions.
We do have a runner.
Oh, we do have a runner, but I'd rather do the running, Roger.
Oh, you would? Take it away.
Well, we can both run, and whoever gets there first
I'll stay here.
gets the big prize, right? Okay.
Okay.
You're still here. You take that. Test.
Testing. Great.
No, this is good. Test, we're good. Yeah, we're good. Questions, Roger?
Yeah, questions. Oh, and by the way, the questions is a contest, and the person who asks the best question gets one of these coffee table books. Okay.
Okay, Karen's got a question. Karen.
I don't know if this is the best question, but then I'm really interested. I'm interested in understanding the breakdown of your annual recurring revenue. How much of that is associated or attributed to the services component, i.e. you putting in the virtual assistant versus the subscription to your applications that you're building?
So at this point, thank you for your question. So what part of our revenue is attributed to the virtual assistant versus platform? So at this point, we are a tech-enabled platform. We are mostly a service model, and we're adding a platform to automate what we already know to be true over the last 3 years. So at this point, our gross margin is around 50%, and most of it is the virtual assistants.
Okay, yeah, and you answered that. So the follow-up to that is, what do you sort of see the transition of the ratio over time to go from the virtual assistant to the platform?
So the purpose of the platform at this stage, so we've got iteration number 1 happening right now. It's to make the work of the virtual assistants internally more efficient, and we estimate we can improve their efficiency by 20%. Then with investment money, as we build out our next version of the platform, that's where we can add AI in terms of chat, and I think we can do so and improve their efficiency by 50% at that point. Did that answer your question? Thanks.
Next question, way at the back, Mike.
Do a marathon here.
And please don't start asking your question until you're using the mic. Thank you.
Hi, Steve Bull, Breathe Global. My question is, how or are you integrating the practitioners' CPT codes or their medical codes and supporting them in them getting their billing reimbursement for the time they spent on the phone?
So are you referring to medical, like the medical profession? I'm not sure.
Yeah, in the medical profession, as I understand it, each of the virtual sessions that the practitioner has with the patient generates or can generate a billable code, or it should be used as a billable code for their follow-up to get their reimbursement. And so the easier that is for the practitioner, the sooner they get the money.
Right. So our clients are allied healthcare practitioners, and so some of them do bill private insurance. We don't work with OHIP or MSP at this point, so that's not part of our model. We work primarily with cash-based practices, but we make the insurance billing to the private insurers a lot easier for the practitioners, if that answers your question. But we don't work with public healthcare right now with medical doctors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
I really like that example you gave of that practitioner who works from home. Can you talk about your serviceable market and your target market? I mean, assume you're not targeting wellness clinics or practitioners who operate to clients who see them in person.
Thank you. And well, so there's a few different answers there. So first of all, 50% of our customers are solo practices and 50% are actually clinics who offer in-person support. And what we've really thrived doing is operating as a part-time assistant in the background, offering remote support to their existing front desk staff. And our serviceable model, our serviceable market is the practitioners who in private practice, so allied practitioners in private practice who have and already use an EMR. That's who we work with. Did that answer the question? Awesome, thanks.
Great, thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
the Q&A. Now you got to choose who asked you the best question.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, the last question. That was a great question.
Last
Yeah, you get the
question.
book.
All right, back to you, Mike.
Congratulations.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Thanks, Julie. All right, next we have Axolotl, and we have Mike Smythe as the Angel Smith. Is it Smith? Smith with a Y. Okay, so Mike Smith with a Y is going to introduce Stephanie and her company. And as I mentioned before, these introductions are to be somewhat brief because we don't count them. We don't count them in the 5 minutes. So no cheating.
My name is Mike Smith. I'm a business strategist, former CEO and CFO. I'd like to introduce you to Stephanie Willerth. She's the founder and CEO of Axolotl Biosciences. Stephanie graduated from MIT in 2003, chemical engineering and biology. She's a racing car driver. She's a racing car builder. She's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. She's she creates the bioinks that goes into 3D printers to create tissues, which means stomachs, lungs. So off the shelf organs is what I'm waiting for.
Thank you so much. Awesome, thank you. That was a great introduction. Also, I don't race cars, but I have tracked a couple. I own a Porsche, I track. One of the other key probably things to know about me is my day job is I am a full professor at the University of Victoria, where I run a biomedical engineering lab, and we have a really big focus on engineering tissues. I'm trying to check if I'm standing in the box. Thanks. Okay, the clock is not on the screen. Oh, this is gonna be a disaster. Okay, so as Mike said, we create bioink for 3D bioprinting human tissue models. And some of you may have heard of one of the companies that I still collaborate with, Aspect Biosystems, who makes bioprinters. And we actually got their second bioprinter ever in our lab. And they just recently pinned a $2.6 billion deal with Novo Nordisk, which really sort of has exploded what the valuation is for companies working in this space. Already 3D bioprinting is a hot area, as Mike mentioned. You can use these bioprinted tissues for things like organ transplantation or also for screening drugs. We also can use our inks to bioprint tissues that mimic the brain. So we have Alzheimer's models and Parkinson's models as well. Huge compound annual growth rate of around 20%. Currently, the market is dominated by academic researchers, and North America is the biggest market. And one of the things that separates us from all the other companies out there is we've worked with a wide variety of different bioprinters. We have 6 different models in our lab, and we can make our ink work with a lot of them. So unlike other companies where they make the printer and then the inks must be specific to that printer, our tech works on a lot of different platforms. So we spun this out of my lab in March 2020, the week of the pandemic. And we had been working on this in the lab, supported by $2.7 million in grant research. And Laura, my co-founder, was the lead author on our paper that describes our first product, which is the commercially available bioink called Tissue Print. And here's an example. I guess it doesn't point. In the lower left-hand corner, you can see one of the neural tissues we've printed. And these neural tissues express the same chemical and electrical signals that you see in brain tissue. Since then, it's been featured in 10 other peer-reviewed publications. It was selected as a 2019 Method of the Year by ACS Biomaterials Science and Engineering. And Axolotl, as we are selling this, we have licensed our tech, and we do have the exclusive license from the University of Victoria to sell. One of the things that distinguishes our ink from the rest of the inks on the market is it's really good at printing human-induced pluripotent stem cell-derived cells. Before we had published our work, if you tried to print human stem cells, about 50% of them would survive, and you weren't going to see any tissues that were functioning like this found in the human body. And that was really one of the breakthroughs with our ink compared to some of the other inks on the market, is being able to print these delicate cells and then also get a tissue out that's functioning like this found in your body. We work with labs here in Canada as well as in the United States as our beta testers and some of our customers. We've also collaborated with a number of companies, as you can see here, including the Prostate Center locally and also Stem Cell Technologies. We currently rent my research lab at the University of Victoria when we do production, which limits the amount of ink we can produce. And that's one of the reasons we're looking to raise, is to get our company off campus and have it become an actual grown-up company. And 90% of our current beta testers have confirmed interest in testing our future products. And if you look at this timeline compared to things like using animal models to test potential drugs, being able to test drugs on these 3D printed tissues is a much quicker and effective way to see if your drug's going to be effective. And you're going to be working with a human tissue model as opposed to an animal. As I mentioned, on the grant funding side, I've been extraordinarily successful in raising from a variety of organizations. And then since we've spun out the company, we've raised an additional $1.4 million in non-dilutive funding as well. And then we're currently looking to raise this round in order to move off campus. And we do have support from the government, which has invested in a new off-campus biomanufacturing facility located in Victoria. It'll help catalyze our product delivery and R&D. We do have products based around our patent sort of pending. We've prosecuted in Europe. We're in prosecution in the US and Canada to take our second and third products, specific inks for printing brain tissue and heart tissue, known as brain print and heart print, to market, as well as to bring on experienced executives, stabilize our current salary, and build out a marketing and sales team. Here you can see our team. As I mentioned, I'm a full professor. I've published over 90 peer-reviewed journal articles and brought in over $40 million in grant funding. My co-founder, Dr. Laura de la Vega, was lead author on 13 of our publications, including those around our tech tissue print. We currently have 8 support staff. Most of them are recent UVic grads, so we have a really young and enthusiastic team. And we're looking for a lead investor with a passion for 3D bioprinting, regenerative medicine, and enhancing human health. And with that, thank you for listening, and check out our social media. Anna does an amazing job on that. And I'm happy to take any questions you have about our tech or 3D printing in general.
Okay, first question for Stephanie. Wow, you must have been really good.
Okay, Aaron's got one.
Hi, Stephanie. I'm curious because this is a hot topic, and obviously the Aspect Biosystems deal is really exciting. You mentioned that you're a partner with them. Could you tell me sort of how Axolotl differs from Aspect Biosystems and how you're working together with them?
My microphone is, oh, sorry, thanks. Okay, so we had partnered with Aspect as the Willarth Lab at the University of Victoria, and they just have an entirely different business model, whereas ours is actually selling our ink direct. Our current business model is to selling directly to academic researchers. We have long-term plans to actually make and license the tissue models. There are things with the cells we use that go into making the licensing of that a bit difficult. They're still good partners. They've actually really gone fully in, obviously with Novo Nordisk, on diabetes, whereas our product is much more agnostic, and like one of our beta testers wants to go into bone. So we have a much wider platform with our ink. The other thing is we aren't specifically tied to their platform, which if you're in this field, you know, they've pivoted from selling printers to researchers to actually doing the clinical grade tissues. So it's really complementary tech is how I see it. And a lot of my students have gone to Aspect as well.
Question? Just a sec, just a sec. So that the online people can hear it.
I have a question. Is your blood ink or your blood
brain ink?
Your BioLink.
Yeah.
Is it basically based on a type O negative blood that you work with your tissues, or do you use like O negative blood as a blood base?
No, we use it's fiber based, so it's a protein, so it doesn't have the same antigens you'd find in blood. If we were to, when we actually print the tissues, we do use stem cells derived from patients. So those would have the same immune markers that would come from the patients the stem cells were derived from, if that's what you're getting at.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Question?
Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to ask if you could bring out your crystal ball and talk a little bit about how far away we are from more complex tissues.
Well, it's interesting because it really depends. Like I was surprised because there's a company, 3D Biotherapeutics out of Cornell, that printed mesenchymal stem cells for people with deformed ears, which is a relatively simple tissue, but they got that into humans, which I was actually really impressed with the speed it went through, because some of the more complex tissues, like what Aspect's trying to do, is both a device and a cell therapy. And I do know they're trying to harmonize some of the approval pathways to get the 3D printed tissues in easier. So given the rapidness which the more simple tissues have gone in, I do think it's realistic, given some of the cell therapies that are going in, that we'll see a more streamlined pathway within the next few years. I think what Aspect's doing with the diabetes, and that makes a lot of sense given sort of Canada's role in that field. And I think with some of the stuff we're doing, like one of our beta testers who's really focused on bone, they have a very good go to clinic strategy. And that's kind of where I see our role, is enabling our beta testers and collaborating with these groups to take tech into our ink is free. While the version we sell to academics is not GMP made, you can make a version of our ink that can go into people. And we have talked to Humana Biologics out of Arizona about it, as well as CCRM over in Ontario about those. And there is, again, with the prof hat on, there are grant applications at UBC to build such facilities here in British Columbia so we can manufacture it locally. So I'm pretty bullish on it, just given how cell therapy is evolving and sort of the acceptance of some of these. And then even though I don't like to mention it, with COVID, we did see a lot of the old pathways being broken down with getting approval for some of these newer technologies, which gives me hope of getting them into the clinic quicker.
Time for one more.
We have one online. What companies would you buy, and have you had conversations with any of them?
What companies
would you buy?
Buy?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the exit?
Not sure.
Oh, I mean, like we've stem cells beta tested our ink. Bioprosthetics is another one of the companies that's in beta. I'm currently professing, and we sell our ink to academic researchers, so we weren't thinking about going out and buying companies anytime soon. But I like it. It makes it sound really ambitious.
What was that really the question? That was from the online audience?
Yeah, just read
They
it.
weren't referring to an exit.
No.
Okay,
Not a specific
interesting.
So Stephanie, who had the best question?
Oh, I think the first question was really good.
First question from Aaron?
Yeah.
All right. Congratulations, Aaron.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie and Mike. Next, we have Perfectly Snug. I saw Jason in the audience, but I didn't see Gordon. And is Aaron going to, that's interesting, because I was just thinking, who am I going to ask to do this? And I thought Aaron's the guy. So Aaron.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron with What If, and so introducing Jason and Perfectly Snug today. We're looking at them. We're in due diligence right now. They've come out with the next generation of smart topper. Love the team, love the ambition, and really growing this or doing this raise for the market expansion and really marketing and getting this in front of people. I've been personally using the mattress for a couple of weeks now. Never thought I needed anything like this, and my sleep is way, way better. Waking up refreshed. I am your, the person to talk to about this product, because it really is fantastic. So over to Jason for a bit more of the details.
You look very refreshed. Okay, Jason.
Well, thanks, Aaron. Appreciate that. And I'm super happy you're sleeping awesome. I hear that over and over again from our customers. And so that's super exciting. Marty Furs is my co-founder. He's not here today. He's shown in the slide here. We are seeking $2.5 million investment to propel our business into rapid growth. Now, chronic sleep deprivation leads to serious health issues, such things as heart disease, diabetes, mental illnesses, and
You know, for me, I was worried about this because I was a terrible sleeper. Now, I was always too hot, and tossing and turning was ruining my health and productivity. I tried different mattresses, bedding, fans, nothing helped. I was desperate. And you know, I'm not alone. Many people sleep too hot. They disagree with their spouse about the temperature of the room, or they suffer night sweats. And my struggle motivated us to create a product to help hot sleepers and to help everyone sleep better. The Perfectly Snug Smart Topper is air conditioning for your bed. The Smart Topper is a 2-inch layer that goes on top of your mattress, and internal fans propel air under and against your body, and the amount of cooling or heating automatically adjusts based on built-in sensors to keep you at your perfect temperature all night long. Our smart technology reduces tossing and turning. It eliminates night sweats. Menopausal women love it. They can say goodbye to hot flashes, and for couples, each person gets the temperature that they need. Our patented technology cools by active airflow. It has dual zones, so each person can select their own temperature. It monitors your body temperature with internal sensors, and you can control it using our phone app or using some simple buttons on the side of the bed. Our customer satisfaction is very high, describing the product as life-changing, a marvel, nothing short of miraculous. You know, I myself no longer struggle to sleep. Instead of tossing and turning, I get to sleep through the night. The product really works. Last year, we sold just under $500,000, which is almost 5 times what we did in the first year of sales. Our initial target market are hot sleepers who live in North America that have a good income and are accustomed to purchasing things online. A 10% market share of this segment represents $2.3 billion annual market in North America. You know, every mattress company describes their product as cool or cooling, but they don't really cool. And they're responding to customer demand for cooling, but they don't have a real solution. Our primary competitors shown on the slide here have bulky floor-mounted boxes that pump water through water-filled pads on top of the bed. And these are susceptible to water leaks, condensation, and mold. Our product is superior. We expect our annual revenue to exceed $100 million by 2028. And this requires selling about 40,000 units a year, which is the amount that our water-based competitors are selling today. And this is a small fraction of the 40 million mattresses sold each year in North America. As for the team, Marty is a seasoned CEO, having started and exited 2 high-tech product-based companies in the past. I have developed many products and managed large engineering and manufacturing teams at Schneider Electric Schneider Electric Solar and Kodak. And recently, excitingly, we're just signing up Mark Quinn, who is the ideal CMO, Chief Marketing Officer for us. He has held high-level VP positions at many mattress companies and retail mattress companies, and he has literally wrote the book on mattress retailing. We are seeking $2.5 million for preferred shares. We've got actually 200K closed as of today, and for 500 fairly hard circled actually as of today. Marty and myself have personally invested $1.45 million into the company, and recently our existing shareholders have reinvested $300,000, all at the existing share price that we're offering. Our exit plan is to be acquired by a major mattress company in 5 years for $300 million. And these companies will be eager to get our superior technology. And there's a history of acquisition in this space. Some examples are shown on the screen here. So in summary, we identified a real problem experienced by the majority of the population. We created an elegant and effective solution. We have a proven team that has demonstrated product market fit and has successful exits under our belt. Now's the time to invest and to accelerate growth. Thanks for your time. I'd love to answer some questions.
Questions. He didn't put you to sleep, did he?
Hi, that was a great presentation. Probably a lot better than my pillow, but if you're selling for 300 million, the company, what's the lift on the investment percentage-wise?
Right now, our valuation is 8.6 Canadian, so we're talking about 300 million US exit, so it's a large lift.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
I'm not super familiar with this space and inventing stuff like this, but could you talk about that? I mean, I did a quick look on your website and the cost was about $2,000 for a queen size mattress.
Mhm.
And I'm just curious about if your model is considering lower cost alternatives, or I guess more so my question is it really hard to make this thing? Is a mattress firm going to buy it from you, and why wouldn't they just make it themselves?
So it's not trivial. There's quite a bit of tech inside, specifically around the arrangement of the materials. People have been trying to make a product like this for years, but haven't been able to crack the nut of how to get the airflow on something that's soft, comfortable, bed-like, and when you lay on it, you don't block off the airflow. And that's not trivial. So we have a patent on the structure of materials that do that. They're non-typical materials for the mattress industry. And so it's not easy to knock off. And as well, there's software in there. There's a year and a half of me with a laptop in my bed, tweaking the algorithms to get them perfect, and keeping someone happy with how to control airflow and heat for everybody in every season. It's not trivial. So it was harder than I thought it would be, actually.
Yeah, these guys are technically solid.
I'm a
Anybody
thermodynamics
remember
engineer,
Creo?
so-
Remember Creo? Yeah, okay. And of course, Jason's from the University of Waterloo, renowned for its development of mattresses.
That's right. Mattress engineering 101, yes.
Right. Questions? Okay.
Great presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
Your projection was $100 million revenue in 5 years,
Yeah.
and $300 million sale of the company in 5 years. So 3 times revenue multiple is customary in this business?
It's customary in the business. Yeah, it's kind of middle range. If we get an exit that's labeled as a tech exit, the multiple would be higher. The mattress industry is, relatively conservative in growth, so the multiples have typically been between 2 and 5 kind of thing. But we're a tech play. I don't know if you saw on the slide there, one of our competitors is valued at $500 million, and we have a better product than they do. So.
Ulrich's got another one.
Can you explain how it works, the fans and everything?
Sure.
I mean,
So-
I can't imagine having a bunch of fans underneath me.
Yeah.
Just
so
show
there-
us a schematic, that'll do.
Yeah, that'd be great. So there's at the foot of the bed, there's some specially designed fans that are very quiet, and they have a special housing that we made to handle that airflow, and it pulls air in from your room at the foot of the bed, and then there's a layer inside the product of a non-traditional material that's very open air, and it allows the airflow to have very little pressure drop as it flows up underneath your body. There's a layer above that that's kind of like the top of an air hockey table. It's got a bunch of holes in it, but it's made out of a special foam that allows the air only to come out of those holes. And then above that, there's another layer that it's called a 3D knit textile, and it's about 10 millimeters thick, and that's the top surface of the mattress. And what that allows it to do is the air comes, from the foot of the bed, underneath your body, up through the holes, and then distributes in that upper 10 millimeters around your body and out through the blankets. And that's the enabling technology that allows it to be soft, squishy, very, very quiet, and pleasing feeling. So there's some temperature sensors in there. There's, buttons on the side of the bed. There's a bunch of other tech app, all that kind of stuff.
And Ulrich, there's the patent. So tonight when you have trouble getting to sleep, you can read that patent.
Yeah, read the patent. That'll do it.
I think we had an online question, so let's do that one.
Is there any data collected from the sensors?
Absolutely. So we collect sleep data and we do log it on the product. We can use it for diagnosis at this point. So customers love calling us and looking through the data. We haven't been able to expose that data to the user for sleep coaching and that kind of stuff yet, but that's in the plans. So there's basically bio sleep data collected on the product.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, Jerry, the timer went off, but we've got lots of time afterwards for questions.
Who was
Okay,
the best question?
great.
Questions? I like the tech question.
All right, Ulrich, you get yourself a coffee table book. Back to you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Let's hear it for Jason. And our final presentation this afternoon is movr, and the sponsoring angel investor is Marlon Thompson, who's going to introduce Aaron DeJong. So Marlon, tell us what you like.
What do I like about Aaron? Hi, good to meet you all. Just a little bit of background on me. I left BC about 3 years ago to start my own community for underrepresented investors, and we do two things. Number one is we train on financial literacy to enter this space and understand how to invest into companies, and then we look at deals. And I've met hundreds of founders over the past few years, looked at tons of decks, tons of exposure, and there are very few people that I know that are as well-rounded as Aaron. He's got this incredible vision. He's got ridiculous tenacity. He's a good person, which I think matters when you're choosing who's going to steward your capital. And I think he really understands the role of a founder. So my vote is always for Aaron in everything in life. Yeah, without further ado, here you go.
Before we get started, thank you, Marlon. That was wonderful and unexpected. I feel like I am going to underwhelm you with how good of a person I am. Please all stand up really quick. Just stand up. Everyone you've been sitting, please just stand up really quick. Nothing cheesy here. Just stand up. Thank you. Sit down. That's great. Cool. Little blood flow helps probably me and you. I'm presenting movr, my timer. Is there a timer that I'm going to see? Right there, and I'm already on. B2B health company that's delivering movement health as a service. In case Marlon screwed it up, I got another quote from another person who was going to say something good about me. Tom was the chief science officer and head of innovation for global innovation at Adidas, is the core mentor that has guided me in building out this movement health platform over the years. I ran a gym. I'll get to that in a little bit. What I don't want you to leave here is without the understanding of what we do. I am obsessed with the human body, and that is my mission in this world, is to help people move better in their body. What we built with movr is a complex system of algorithms that takes in lifestyle, balance, range of motion, pain information, and connects that to the right content for individuals in the moment, in the present. What that content then does is help them move better for better range of motion, better balance, better life. Okay, so don't leave here without that understanding. That's what the company does, and that's our IP, that's our algorithm. Why this matters, these are stats out of the States. You just see like 1 in 2 people have MSK dysfunction. That means you have back pain, hip pain, loss of balance, things that are just pretty common aches and pains. My neck is tight today because I sit at my computer. That's something that we want to address. 92% of employers are paying for digital health solutions in the next 12 months. That's a big problem that we need to help them solve. Big number of money being spent on this. Big opportunity. But we're looking at it a little bit different. What I've seen in my market research and who is paying for movr today are companies that are actually providing health solutions in different verticals. We look at active aging and people needing balance, loss, reduction. They need to be able to put their pants on and get up and down off toilets. We look at MSK, continued care. After you've been discharged by a physical therapist or an osteopath, my wife is an osteopath, she's a great one, but people go back to their lifestyles that got them into the office in the first place. Recreational tech, we're integrating into an app that has 500,000 members of people my age who have bum shoulders or achy hips, and they go play hockey at night and then they can't walk for 3 days. They need movement health. Mental health applications it's an exploding space. And we know there's so much research that indicates proper movement health improves mental health. And last but not least, our biggest enterprise client right now is in the metabolic health space. And they're solutioning for behavior change for people who are trying to lose weight. And we know that that's over 50% of people in North America right now are obese. That's a like epidemic, right? We need to provide them with real movement that they can do today in their bodies, and that's not what's currently available online. This is really quick. You can read this on the platform. I ran a studio, did almost $1 million in revenue, 3 years running in Vancouver. It's where I got my start. It's how we built movr. We specialized in assessment-based recommendations in real life. We built that into an app. I built that into an app. We did academic research and validation with the support of Lululemon in their investment in 2021, or 2019 and 2021 in their follow-on round. Those are both strategic rounds. And we're now spinning the service we built into a direct-to-consumer product into a B2B SaaS product. I'm here with my tail between my legs because I pitched to Mike about a year ago asking for money to help me fund building it. Well, now I'm back on the same terms with a product that we're selling with revenue, saying, can you invest in our expansion into market? This is what it looks like. People tell us how far they can go when they touch their toes and a number of different factors. And then we modify real world exercises that they get in the moment without them needing to see what's going on behind in the background. Like I mentioned, we're live in product in a number of digital health platforms that are primarily selling in the space. In the States, we sell to providers. They go to their payers and they distribute across those massive networks. Big differentiator for us is we are not dependent on personal health professionals. You don't need telehealth to talk to a practitioner. You don't need a personal trainer. You don't need a physical therapist. You need to answer questions that movr provides or our partners are providing us when it comes to assessment data. Our algorithms take over. We output exercises that are curated based off our 300 exercise library and growing. This is easy to deploy, saves that company money, and it's new revenue engagement for them. Oh, the countdown timer is killer. This is a need, not a want. We're in the market. We know we're meeting multiple peoples across multiple segments of their life. We've got people who are supporting us in terms of our biggest clients. The things you care about, our customers are paying us, our startup customers are paying $50K in annual contract value. Our enterprise licenses are $150K in annual contract value. And we have a scaled billing model of per active users per month that we bill for. Yeah. Cool. Multiple ways for us to charge our partners. And last but not least, well, there's so much more. Currently today, we launched 3 months ago for our first paying clients. We have 240K in ARR. We charge monthly. We are raising capital right now to help us get to just over $1 million ARR in projections at the start of Q1 of next year. That puts us in a cash flow neutral position and in a lot of choice in where we're going in terms of how we then either finance or raise money. We got lots of cool stuff. We're shred enabled. We've got our LFG company in the back there. And then lastly, on a safe 1.5, we've raised 800. It's in the bank. I'm so sorry, Mike. Thank you for giving me 54 more seconds.
You're welcome. Here, let me trade with you. Okay, some questions. Questions. Okay, well, we'll start it with a close one. Aaron?
Just a really quick one. Just curious about the terms. What is the cap on the safe?
It's 10 million.
10 million.
Yeah, and 15% discount. Yeah.
Only 15?
Only 15. I mean, how much you're putting in, we can talk, Mike, but.
Okay. There was a question back here.
I think what you're doing is really amazing. I think being able to touch my toes and do a full squat changed my life. So I love what you're working on. I find in your space, especially given that you're B2B, sometimes the product is easy to sell to professionals, and they can be really good for the client, but then the client doesn't work it. That friction exists between the practitioner prescribing it to them and giving it to them, and then they don't use it. Can you talk about any experience you've had or data you've been studying that says, hey, 90% of people that the practitioner prescribes it to, they use it and they're making progress? Do you have any stats like that?
Yeah, I think this is why investors like to see in-market traction. We've learned so much from our first 4 integrations. One of the things is when we sign contract, we supply design resources so that we can actually put our product into digital platforms in like hotspots. We help recommend how you're actually going to get user flow. And then in our, right now on average, we see a 40% utilization across user base. So Wonder Health went live, just for example, movr the app and consumer. It took me 5 years to get 50,000 downloads. We had about 15,000 of those stick around, which was decent, and then about 3,000 active users. In the first 9 weeks of being live with Wonder Health, we had over 50,000 usages, 35,000 of those came back to use the content. So, and that's 40% of their active user base. Yeah. So we tell them where to put it, is what I'm saying. And then the application actually makes sense for the end user.
More questions? We have time for one or two more. Well, you told the story well, obviously.
I'll be at a table. I'll have some cards. The one thing that I did want to highlight is I'll be hosting an hour debrief with a bit more of a product demo on Friday via Zoom. So anybody who's interested, just come chat with me. I'll get your name on that list, and I'll be doing that on Friday afternoon.
Okay, now what about the book?
Yeah, who had the best question?
Toe touch, deep squat, love it.
Already has
So do you have a book?
So do you want to concede the second book?
Where was are you already? Yeah. Can I give the book to Marlon? He did a great intro.
Okay.
That's great.
That's a deal. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Roger with some wrap-up comments. And just before I do that, I just want to thank you all for coming this afternoon, and hopefully we can chat a little bit over at happy hour. So Roger, wrap it up for us, and don't be too tedious about it.
Just like it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a whole bunch of well-intentioned, vigorous volunteers to put on this session, and I'd like to thank them. First of all, the front desk people, that's Peter and Charles and Ayush. Hold your applause. Tech team, Jackson, Kathy, Wendy, and Mateus, and operations, Ashma, myself, Frank, Lindsay, and Mike Volker. Second job is to announce our Vancouver Summer Social, VanTech. This is for members only. 27th of June, Jericho Tennis Club. Now you must sign up in order to attend because there's limited capacity and we have to order the right amount of food.
And it's free.
And it's free. Okay, thank you. And finally, I want to announce our next VanTech meeting, which is the last meeting for the summer, 5th of July, first Wednesday of every month as per normal. We break for the summer and then we start again with an open networking session come September. I know I'm between you and some fine wine, craft beer, and great appetizers, so I'm going to wrap it up.